All right. Welcome to the Gamer Librarian podcast, the best podcast you can find on this side of the multiverse. I am your host, Adrian, and today we're talking about the end of an era. I mean, truly, this is something unprecedented. I mean, we've seen examples of it in the past, but before we get started into big changes in the gaming industry, there's a small amount of things that we need to talk about here. And one of them is a whole new setup. I mean, we're not fully set up here in the new apartment, but it is what it is. And it's been great so far, but we're going to see where it goes. Hopefully, the podcast improves along these lines. But at the end of the day, what's important is video games. And there's a lot of stuff. We are behind on our Metal Gear Solid playthrough. First time we've ever done the series in this way, and it's been great so far. But we've stopped on Metal Gear Solid 3, and a lot of other games have come out since then. We've kind of been playing a lot of roguelites lately, Ball Pit and Hades 2. Those are two really good ones. And Silk Song just took so long. So we're in a transitional period for the podcast. It is October. We're in the spooky season. Not a whole lot of spooky stuff that we got to talk about yet so far in the podcast. I want to watch the new VHS movie. I haven't gotten a chance to do that, but I do plan on doing that eventually. Now, we did do a horror game this October, and that was Chronos the New Dawn, which was extremely fun while not necessarily being the type of modern horror experience that you would expect, especially when we've already had such a magnum opus in recent years for the horror genre in gaming. I've also got the chance to play another horror game, just a little bit of it, Silent Hill 2, the remake that came out last year by Blooper. Yeah, I mean, this is an entirely good looking remake for the most part. I think that it looks nice on the PS5, but it's nothing extravagant. But overall, the combat does feel stiff in some ways. I think that that's what happens when you take games from the past and you turn them into modern experiences. Sometimes the past things like the controls is something that's always, you know, going to be hard to match up. And a lot of games they do it well. A lot of games do it one for one, but they usually don't. Now we haven't finished this game at all, but we probably won't in the future just because it's not necessarily a game I really wanted to play. It was free on PSN. I was like, oh, all right. I wanted to play Silent Hill F, the newest Silent Hill game that came out this year, because from what we've seen, those are the kind of combat that is just about the same. Those two games, we really don't have a new experience for Silent Hill. But the story overall, I think, is what draws people in, what keeps them playing. And, the horror aspect is hit or miss for somebody because maybe it's not specifically horror or scary in a lot of ways. But I'm definitely keen on seeing what this new setting for Silent Hill means for the genre and the franchise going on because I like the historicalness. Chronos the New Dawn had a very modern and real location as its set piece, some city in Poland, I believe. And yeah, it's just been really cool seeing horror games be treated in new, astonishing ways. But I want to play Silent Hill F. That's what I want to do. And we just don't know when we're going to have the time to really get that done. There's still some games that we haven't specifically finished. Like I haven't even gotten to the end of Hades 2, like the end boss yet. And it's just been quite a time. A release date for a game has been announced, Marvel Cosmic Invasion. Now, this is a game that I'm excited to play with my friends. It has 4 co-op availability. That's what I think, 4-player co-op. But a 15 character roster is really awesome for a game like this. I hope that it's longer than the Power Ranger game. The Power Ranger game, that's I don't think it's made by the same people, but it's like the same 8-bit arcadey beat 'em up style. You know, I'm not necessarily a beat 'em up kind of guy. I've only ever played a handful of them, in my many years, and that's just never been a specific type of game that's I've coveted. But I'm a big Marvel guy, and I enjoyed the ones that I've played in the past, like Scott Pilgrim, Cla Castle Crashers. Those are great. And so, just having a new Marvel arcade experience that I mean, the 8-bitness of it looks awesome. Just the animations and all the colors, all that looks great. So I'm excited to see what Cosmic Invasion has in store, because hopefully it has more than just like 6 levels. I hope it has like, I don't know, maybe at least 8 or 10, because that might be good. And then have some like cool bosses that might come up. We have to finish Borderlands. We haven't gotten a chance to really dive super deep into Borderlands. I'm kind of waiting for that character Cash. He seems pretty cool. I kind of like the RNG-ness of it. Reminds me of obviously Claptrapper from the pre-sequel. And so, yeah, that's just been something that we didn't know we would enjoy playing early on was the Borderlands 4. Kind of thought that it was going to be a relatively lackluster experience, but it seems to have shocked everybody's expectations. Just blew them out of water, especially after 3. Now there's a new Katamari game. Don't know when we're ever gonna get to that because Hannah and I still haven't even finished the original Katamari games, so that's gonna be slow pickings. Did start her on the South Park Stick of Truth, so that's pretty cool. Love South Park. Now we're got a little bit of Microsoft stuff. Apparently, there's a Galaxy showcase. We talked about Galaxies last year, which I think they're a smaller showcase now because I don't even think they have a lot of specific announcements at this one event. I had the list, but there's like a release date for Mouse PI, the black and white Mickey looking game. Just looking up. I didn't have the list. Okay, we did have the Warhammer 40,000 Bolt Gun 2 announcement. That's something I just didn't see. And then there's a small handful of titles, just the only gaming conference. I think this is up probably the last for the year until TGS, Tokyo Game Show. I don't think that happened yet. So, yeah, it's been something for gaming recently. There's a Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis crossover with Final Fantasy 13. I mean, I love that. I love seeing that they're bringing those crossovers in those games, but where's my fighting game? Where's my Final Fantasy fighting game? And so there was also Fallout Day. Fallout Day came and went. It had some stuff about, the TV show, obviously, and Fallout 4, anniversary, and then a New Vegas anniversary bundle. No remake, no nothing. And then there's some Fallout Shelter stuff and 76, of course. Now, I've always seen Fallout be treated pretty poorly since the 76, release. Obviously, things went downhill with like 4 and 4's release in terms of a lot of ways, but I think that was definitely like the uphill beginnings to a downhill trend, which was the Fallout series. I mean, the TV show is a highlight, and from what I've played of 76 recently, I've had a relatively enjoyable experience. So, not saying all that's been, you know, really bad, but people are very disappointed over not having a Fallout New Vegas remaster, which I think is warranted for being one of the best, at least not 3 or 4. Like, it's insane. But obviously, Bethesda or whoever, Obsidian, whoever they might be having doing those games, they also have the Elder Scrolls, and we've never heard nary hair of that. So there's absolutely no way we're even going to get anything about Fallout before Elder Scrolls 6. That's insane. Truly insane. Especially after the Oblivion remake. Like, that's something like that seems like You obviously got the Oblivion remake. Why would we get anything else? And so we're talking about Microsoft. This is the big topic today, Microsoft, because they were seen as the other third of the pie. The other third of the pie in terms of where your selection could have gone. Now, let's talk about gaming for a minute. There used to be like 4 sections of gaming that were initially the big companies: Microsoft, Nintendo, PlayStation, Sony, and then Steam. Like, I would say Steam, for a majority of what it was in the past, was definitely the 4th company. Things like the Orange Box that was on Xbox originally, which came with like Portal, Left 4 Dead, Team Fortress, and I think even Half-Life. Those games were Half-Life exclusives. Well, not half exclusives, Steam exclusives, PC exclusives by extension. And then you could play PC games that were on Steam on consoles and PlayStation systems, and eventually the Nintendo Switch, probably even like the Wii U era, but definitely the Switch. And that was an insane time. We've lived in that time for a very long time, but it's never been something where a Microsoft product has gone to other platforms like Sony. Now, this isn't the first time. We had that earlier this year with Gears of War, which I think that the way they're handling these 2 games is not great. I don't think that that is the way that needed to be done. I don't think remaking the first games in any capacity should have been the stretch. We already have a collection, a highly coveted and played collection of games called the Master Chief Collection. Like, that's 4 games right there. Reach and ODST are already on there. I don't see any reason for anybody to pay money for that specific campaign evolved Halo game when the Master Chief Collection exists, because you could just get an Xbox for less money. Well, I mean, they raised prices, so, like, no, you probably even couldn't. Get a PC, get Game Pass, and then play Master Chief Collection where you get all of those games, all of them. I think that's insane. Now we also have Gears of War, which I think fully deserves a Phoenix collection, a Gears collection, but it got a whole new release right before anything was even shown about Gears of War E-Day, which is disgusting. So they have their priorities not in a row, which is really insane. The console wars is dead, and maybe it's been dead for a while, but it's definitely seen as these Microsoft is not willing to let the PC market and the PlayStation market go away from them. But I think they're going about it the wrong way, you know. Just put Game Pass on the PlayStation. Just be like, this is Xbox Game Pass available on PlayStation. I mean, half the games are already on there. And then just be like, yeah, we're porting over Master Chief Collection to PlayStation 5. It'll be updated with crossplay for the current runs of these games. I mean, there's no mention of multiplayer for Campaign Evolved. There's apparently rumor of like 3 exclusive prequel missions for the campaign, which I guess that's why it's called Campaign Evolved. I don't know. I don't know, but as somebody who really liked the Master Chief Collection, as somebody who thought that even with Halo 4, Halo 5, I think the Master Chief Collection was one of the best benefits you can get for being a Halo fan, being a Game Pass subscriber, just having an Xbox or a PC if you wanted to play Halo, because the multiplayer works for all of those games, all those games. And Campaign Evolved looks pretty, right? But there's a time where like people are really not going to want to play these games if they're just only prettier and prettier and prettier experiences. And you know what? You can add all the more content you want, whether it's campaign levels, more multiplayer maps. I think what people want is the raw, authentic experience. I mean, these remakes, they're really something. Did Demon Souls on the PS5 really play and it like give any kind of experience that was more in depth than what came out in like 2008 with its original release on the PS3? I don't think so. You know, I think that it's just a prettier, better sounding, better visually kind of experience, but the gameplay for it is relatively exactly the same. I think that's insane. We have all these big companies that are putting so much money into, titles that are from 20 plus years. And it seems like they're trying to capture that lightning in a bottle effect that happened 20 years ago every single time, rather than just being like, we already did it. Let's try and expand on it in a further infinitesimal way. And Halo Infinite should have been that. I mean, Halo Infinite should have been like, all right, we're just gonna take over, Master Chief Collection. You know, you play that game, it's basically free if you're on a Game Pass or have it at your PC or whatever. And then Halo Infinite is just the infinite version of Halo. It's a 20-year long Halo game. It's gonna have a better campaign than what it should have had in its launch. And that would have been, free on Game Pass because it was for the subscribers or whatever when it came out. And obviously the multiplayer was free to everybody, which is a plus. But when I think Infinite, I think, oh, it should have all of the maps from the past, all the weapons from the past, all the character customizations. I think of like Smash Ultimate, everyone's here type stuff. You know, Never been a big Microsoft stand, but I had an Xbox through a massive majority of my gaming career. Like I pretty much missed the PS3 era. I don't have a PS3. That's why we're waiting on the Volume 2 remaster of the Metal Gear games so I can play Metal Gear Solid 4 because that's not announced by the end of the year. That game's getting pirated by me and played. I don't know what else to say. So we're gonna see what happens. I just don't like seeing that these games be repolished and repolished in terms of just its visuals and way you can play it, just in for the sake of, oh, it's a newer experience for much more money. $70 probably. $70 probably. I think that's insane. You know, I mean, all that could change in the future, but I think that the console wars is dead, and gaming is definitely moving in a direction of less exclusivity, more availability, but that availability is coming at a cost of, you know, we haven't seen a lot of titles in a long time, a very, very long time. Games are hard to make. Games are expensive. They take manpower. I mean, we're turning into a big, big shift for the craftsmanship and the artistry and way games are built. I think that's definitely something worth talking about. You know, I would love it for games to be able to be made by everybody, just to go online or go on your computer and make a video game. Of course, regardless of the method, right? We won't get into all the ways you can make video games now, but when you think of like how many people are behind some of these companies, and there's no Bloodborne port for PC, but like Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us is talked about like up the yazoo, or Pokemon is just shitted on in the gaming space. Like all of the Pokemon spin-offs are fine, but I think the mainline series has been just fucking milked and pumped for the bare minimum of what it could deliver. And I'm fucking tired of it. I'm sick and tired of that. So you see it with Halo, and I don't want to see it with Gears of War. I don't know what the Gears of War prequel game is going to be, Gears of War E-Day, but do I want it to be the same exact experience that I've played? No. No, I want it to be something super fresh, super new, super exciting, super exotic. I want the lot of games. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, or whatever the part 3 is gonna be called. Those are sequels, right? I still think people should go and experience the very first Final Fantasy VII, if it's not their first one. Final Fantasy X, that's a good one to start. Yeah, it's just a crazy time for gaming where, Halo's gonna be available on Sony consoles and other consoles, right? I think Gears of War was like, I mean, Gears of War and Halo were like PC at the start, right? I mean, like that's where like the difference comes from. It's just Sony altogether, and then Nintendo. You know, Nintendo's the other piece of the pie that's just so on its own, the own exclusive one. But that's a bigger talk about for the pirating of the games, right? Like that's just another thing to mention there is, of course, right? If you're only going to have one of the three consoles or a PC or whatever, why even get the Switch or the last consoles where some Nintendo games aren't available on their newest handheld console, like the Pokemon games, Earthbound, and stuff like that. Crazy. So, yeah, we talk about, Silent Hill, Halo Campaign of all that's relatively the big two video game news for the week. But, One Piece 1163 was also super sick. We have Saturn come up and start fighting the Rook's pirates. Pretty dope. I just want a One Piece fighting game. I think I'm just gonna be talking about it until I die. How badly I want a One Piece fighting game, and I don't want like a half baked One Piece fighting game. I think when One Piece is fully over, it deserves a fighting game in the same art style that is like Dragon Ball, the same authentic art style for the TV show, the anime. That'd be sick. And then, we could talk about the TV shows we've been watching. Task on HBO. That's a great one. I think you guys all watch it. It has Mark Ruffalo in it. Mark Ruffalo kills in it, and then it has a character from Ozarks. We talk about Ozarks for a long time here on the podcast, so it's definitely a show worth watching. And we started doing Mayor of Kingstown, Jeremy Renner. That's been pretty good so far. And we're gonna do the It prequel show. Uh, it's Halloween. We could definitely talk about it and talk about it as it comes out weekly. But I don't think we're gonna read the It book for the podcast. It's just I don't want to go through that story again. It's just kind of too long for 1,100 pages to experience the It story again. I think the prequel would be like a nice fresh take, but maybe after the show. And there's a Chainsaw movie which we didn't get a chance to watch this weekend. We were at a bachelor party, went to Bushkill Falls. That's really the reason we haven't played a lot of video games this weekend. I even downloaded Vampire Survivor because of the Castlevania update. I remember playing that game when it first came out for a long time, and the DLC, I just really wanted to, try it out, see what the experience was. So Oh, that's Men's Warehouse. I was just trying to understand what the acronym was. And so, that's really all we talked about. You know, we don't really have a whole lot else for the podcast. It's just insane to see where game is going because it's not like I don't want people to play Halo on a Sony console. It's not like I don't want people who have never gotten that chance to play Halo to just not. It's just the Master Chief Collection came out like, I don't know, almost 10 years, like 11 years, right? There's probably hundreds of thousands of people playing it, if not millions, because it's like the most accessible Halo game. If people are playing it on, Xbox consoles or whatever it is. I'm sure some of the Xbox Ones still work, or, you know, some people's old PCs that they just haven't upgraded and they're just playing Master Chief Collection. I just don't want to see like that kind of experience die. Because then, are we going to get a Halo the Master Chief Collection remaster? Is that really the future where we're headed, or we're remastering those collections in this way? I don't know. It's just gonna be it's gonna be a fun time. But that's it. Peace.